right, welcome, my friend. Hold on, let me. All right, I was like, I did not re-listen to her voice messages, so I did, and let's get down to the nitty and the gritty. Um, I have to keep my phone open because I have to be on hotspot. That's so fun. Isn't that fun when you come back from America and your Wi-Fi just doesn't? It's only the computer. It seems to work fine. Everything else. And you have like the best computer. It's like rated like #1 computer ever, or was a few years ago. Well, yeah, I love my computer, but it's kind of weird. Anyways, who cares? Let's get down to this. So everything that you said is in my head. Um, so I can already tell that, as much as an astrology reading, there's some things that, we'll see what the charts say, but there's also going to be a level of kind of philosophy, if you want to call it that, um, because you said you told me yeah, there's gonna be some, yeah, you said guidance was a word that really stuck out. So I'm just gonna see what pops up. So let's pop up the chart. Um, so you'll still see my face. Let me move this a little bit over. Actually, I can sit more comfortably. I like having this pillow on my back. Um, all right. So right off the bat, not too many hard aspects from what I see. Um, However, you do have your sun and your moon. They're not opposite by angle, but they're opposite signs. So the sun's in Gemini, the moon is in Sag. The moon is very close to Antares, royal star. I'll go into that later. Um, and basically, when you have your sun and your moon in opposite signs, that's called an axis, and you have to really look at that axis and what that axis means, right? Like, what is it? What are you trying to be taught in this lifetime by having these two opposite energies that are really like the same energy but opposite manifestations, right? So with Sag and Gemini, um, it's about the lower and the higher mind. It's about bringing together all the information. You can think of Gemini as like the journalist, and the curious one, the butterfly, and Sag as it's about wisdom. It's about like taking all that information and putting it together and creating philosophies, worldviews, all that stuff, and you live your life based off of those, right? So I see Mercury squaring the nodes, South Node in Aries, with the North Node in Libra, and I can tell you right off the bat that a big part of the karma is around the mental faculties, not as in like intelligence, but um around more so the messaging, unconscious usually, that you give yourself, that you tell yourself, right? Um, where's my thing? It's over here, isn't it? I have to read this one thing. It's like the one I read. So, um, but yeah, it's like when there's like lots of interjects and lots of like, but I like how he writes it here. So when Mercury squares the nodes, we are alerted to the possibility of unresolved issues in the mental life of the individual. This can include overly rigid thinking or excessively restless curiosity that lacks discrimination as to the kind of material the mind is taking on board. This may represent an issue with internalized messages or interjects of a critical nature that undermine the strength of the personality. So I want to really focus on that sentence. So internalized messages or introjects in psychology, they're called, of a critical nature that undermine the strength of the personality. So, um, when it comes to everything, actually, it's really important, an exercise that I would ask of you. And a lot of people, need like actual therapy or I do astrological based therapy just in case if you're ever interested, because some people do that and it's basically like taking the reading, um, not really to the next level. The reading is the reading, but it's like just, psychology mixed with astrology and really like kind of, yeah, I guess it is kind of because we're going further in on each placement relating to your current life and all that stuff. And then I have 2 masters in psychology and yeah. But so that's huge. I, yeah, and so like I'll continue. So such internalized guilt emphasized by the sixth house Virgo archetype can become the basis for internal shame and or masochistic tendencies. This placement may indicate a range of communication issues, for example, an issue with trusting the opinions of others, lies or conflicting views as to the nature of the truth may have had profound consequences in prior lives. So, um, yeah, and then also, so the sun squaring the nodes is like just very, very karmic, and it says, um, it indicates an essential part of the current life energy and purpose is to resolve the issue symbolized by the square to the node axis through house and sign, and through the node it resolves through, which would be the last one transitive, which goes backwards. It'd be the north node, right? Wait, let me think. No, it would be the south node. So by going back into the karmic past, um, a lot can be, yeah, yeah, I'm correct. 'Cause it went, um, where was that? Yeah, so this placement indicates the current life as a critical one for the resolution of unresolved material. This material is experienced in this life as part of the core nature of the individuality and sense of personal meaning. This placement has echoes of the symbolism of the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell with a hero with 1,000 faces, and can involve the individual having to create or maintain a personal vision in isolation or in conflict with others around them in their life. As such, it represents a challenge to individuate. So, yeah, challenge to individuate, right? Dark Knight, yeah, like the hero's journey. So, very, very important karmic lifetime. But I think like with what I've heard, the Mercury one square is very interesting. Because having your South Node in Aries, right? South Node is like the karmic tendency in the ninth. The way it can show up is someone who, um, you know, might kind of it can present themselves as like people with karmic tendencies to be kind of know-it-alls, or people who have just spent a lot of time learning a lot, and um, they come in like naturally kind of like whether it's like just like under like having incarnated in like lots of different countries or cultures, and having that like maybe less of an affinity to the culture they're in, and like a natural understanding for other ones. um but what the lower vibe it can be is it can be someone who's not willing to hear other people's views, and that goes back to your sun, your moon, which is like you're really here to hear everyone, to hear everyone out, to really spread your wings around and see like what this person has to say, even if you might not consider this person to be super high up on that scale. To still kind of like understand you can learn from everyone. Everyone has their own version of truth, their own way of getting the truth. And they're different type of truth. So yeah, the square, yeah. So I'm just gonna keep going back to that square, but with the sun being in Gemini, once again, like we have to look at like the houses. It's the third house. North Node is in third house, and that speaks even. It's a house of Gemini, so that speaks even further to something in past life, to something with your mental conditioning that has made it so you're like overly critical of yourself, right? That there's a way with your thinking um that is self-sabotaging you. Now, this may be controversial. I know a lot of people have talked about it, but just how, disease coming from, energy and coming from stuck energy actually and pain and um with what you explained to me, which I'm not going to repeat, um of your history, your parents, everything that happened there, um which is horrible. To have lost both of them, right? And in those ways, I it's just, man, I'm seeing even more like of this perfectionism stuff with the Mars and Virgo, but we'll get into that in a sec. Wait, hold on a second, let me finish this kombucha. Okay, finish it. But yeah, so I think that like the pain that I, you know, could feel not just in your voice, but in what you were telling me. Um, you know, I always talk about this, right? And I told you this reading is going to be like, it's going to be what it's going to be. Like, you control your own mind, you know? Like, for example, I believe I'm the best young astrologer in the world. Have I seen every young astrologer in the world do a reading? Hell no, of course not. I mean, like I've only seen a few, but I've been told by many clients who've gotten readings from all the most popular ones, the best that they've had for nail readings, right? Um, partly because of skill, partly because I care the most. If you can feel it. Um, Now the reason I'm telling you that is that that could be seen as a delusional way of seeing reality. And if I was a shitty astrologer, it would be a fucking useless and delusional way of seeing reality. Catch my drift. But I believe that in life, sometimes we need to be a little bit delusional when it comes to success, when it comes to a lot of things, right? We need to program our mind, right? And a lot of us, most of us, nearly all of us, whether we know it or not, have been programmed in a certain way by someone who also has been programmed in a certain way. And it gets passed on, passed on. And then it's like, um, that's what your chart's really asking you to do in this lifetime is how it's literally asking, how can you reprogram yourself, right? How can you step outside from what you think you know delete, delete, delete. Not delete, but just child's vision, you know? And have that, yeah, that child's curiosity, you know? Yeah, but like even when it comes, yeah, when it comes to disease, when it comes to anything, I think that you know, a lot of that could come from not having, you know, I mean, I don't even want to say like properly healed, because that's like, you know, putting, I don't know. I mean, it just feels weird saying that, right? But like not having, yeah, like just, I mean, you had horrible things happen, you know. I'm not gonna name them, but you've had really, really difficult things happen. I'm not gonna name them, but I'm gonna, yeah, I mean, I mean, yeah, like, you know, with the breakup, for example, right? Um, with the diagnosis of breast cancer, you know, with the parents, the way that they both went out, um, you know, being a single mother, um, just it's all very, very heavy energy, right? I would highly suggest just, I don't know if your work is mobile or not, but I'm curious to know, like, you know, where you live, and if it's close to where you grew up, then don't bother. But another reading I do is called astrocartography, and it kind of shows us how different parts of the world affect our energy differently, right? We have like energetic hotspots, cold spots, all that stuff. And yeah, I'd be curious, like, if you live somewhere outside of like that New York area, um, I'd be curious as to what lines are close to you. But anyways, that's a different story. But yeah, really, you know, our thoughts are what shape our reality. So as I was telling you, like, you know, that's how I feel. I feel that when I go into a reading, I believe that, you know, I believe that no one in the world that is considered like a young up and coming astrologer can do what I can do. I don't believe that that's possible. And maybe it's, and I am also open, but I'm open to being wrong. I would love to see an artist come in and just do a beautiful reading and record it and be brave enough to put it on YouTube like I do. Um, but you know, I just haven't seen it. And the reason I believe it is because of feedback. But like at the same time, it is delusional. But like, what does it make me do? It gives me confidence, and it's not even fake confidence, because I think it's true. I think it's true. So how does that relate to you? Well, we're seeing a lot of, you know, past life conditioning, you know, like the whole being lied to, being gaslit, your truth is the wrong truth, that kind of shit from past lives. Like that's come out in this lifetime, right? And let me check one thing. Yeah, and like you, like Mercury is squaring Pluto. It's very, very like, it's like kind of like no, I'm not gonna, that's like a 10-degree orb. So that's too far. I would have counted 9. I mean, it's, but like, even if you do have really tight orbs for that, like, you know, that gives like a very difficult mental life, right? So it kind of actually does go with what we're saying, like very like kind of dark, shadowy thoughts that can come in and be intrusive, and really like depression, anxiety, like really kind of a dark mind, right? but like it's a loose angle, so it's not a really prevalent one. But like what I'm getting to is that um and don't worry, I don't just like leave you hanging out and just like say this is the problems, everything, blah, blah, and no, I give solutions here. But applying that like when we create stories for ourselves, right? Like for example, I'm depressed. I wake up some days that I feel worse than ever. But like, and I know people who do this, right? Where they tell themselves, I am this or I am not this. And then all that does is that blocks off the chance from them becoming that. So that's what this chart's asking you in a large part, is to look at your beliefs, your unconscious, like self-limiting beliefs, which a lot of times come from shame, come from guilt, come from trauma, um, and just challenge them. Be like, is this really true? Like, why the fuck should this, like why is this true? What in my childhood, for example, like, um, what my childhood led me to believe this. Like, for example, a lot of clients of mine, they have a certain marker, um, that makes them kind of feel stupid when they like at some point in their life they felt like they were dumb. Their way of thinking was dumb. But then I look at their chart and I see all these brilliant but just ahead of their time or really, really deep um placements, that just show that they were just misunderstood, right? Now for you, so you see how that can like, so it's about going back in time. For you, your Chiron is in Taurus, right? So that's about you know the self-esteem issues around that. Um, in the 10th house, you could be someone who you know has some kind of like wounds as it relates to the public and to fulfilling your what you consider your destiny, your dharma, right? um Now, one of the best things with Chiron in the 10th house, though, is that it can create someone whose job is meant to be some type of healer. And by healer, I mean a million different things. You talked about music. That music is a healer. Musicians are healers, or some of them. Some of them are the fucking opposite. Um, Astrologers, good ones. Keyword. And I teach astrology too. Just telling you all this stuff because, like you said, you were interested in it. I teach one-on-one only. I introduced courses, but I was shadow banned at the time, and then I didn't get enough people because I only wanted to do it if I got like at least like 18 minimum per class. I was gonna do two, one like more like kind of intermediary, one like beginner. But no, I just do one-on-one. It's really nice, the one-on-one. I have a few people that I do that are my students, and I only take people, like I literally will reject someone unless they are like extremely motivated to learn. Like their thirst for learning astrology is just like unquenchable, or else it's just not worth it. I mean, like I've had students who just want to know, and they're not, but like it's way better when the person is just like, I want this so bad. I want to know what you know. I want to know how to do what you know how to do, so I can do it for other people, so I can do it for myself, so I can understand other people, all that stuff, right? Because astrology is God's language. Now, as I continue, right? So the Chiron there, doing healing around your body, right? Like yoga for Chiron and Taurus is really, really powerful because a lot of people with Chiron and Taurus, sometimes they can hate their body. They cannot trust their body, right? So, your body, the book, like The Body Keeps Score. It's like we hold trauma which can show up as disease in different areas of our body. So I don't know, I should know, what part of the body, 1 second, let me look it up, is controlled by the breast. Hold on. I'm gonna take a guess at it though. It is my guess is definitely cancer. Cancer. Wait, no. Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, it rules over the chest, breast, and stomach. So cancer is nurturing, and it's the mother. So it's also your 12th house. It's also your Jupiter. It's also your Black Lilith. Oof, I can feel this reading. I can feel this one. Ooh, shit. This is the magic coming. So if that's happening, the 12th house is the house of karma. It's where you really have to, it's a house I could spend fucking an hour trying to explain you all the nuances, but just it's the house of Pisces. It's very spiritual. It's very much about oneness. But it's also the house of repressed energies, and your Mercury happens to be there in Cancer. Now, I'm making a connection here as I do. I'm the puzzle maker. IQ 159. That's why I don't think any astrologer has an IQ that high. And I don't think any astrologer can make the connections that I make in my head without even like speaking about them. But I'm literally creating puzzles in my fucking head as I do this shit. Or not puzzles, just I'm like linking all these things. I wish there could be a photo of what's happening in my brain at all times during readings. It'd be really dope. But okay, so obviously like the cancer in the breast. So I think that I can make that link between these, whatever going, the mental, everything I was talking about, like the square with the nodes, the Mercury square with the nodes, that like that self-critical self-talk, whatever it is, that keeps you away from self-sabotage, you know, so your beliefs, I think probably there's some shame related to it. And because the mother is the moon, I would connect in some way, like the nurturance that you needed as a fire moon, which, fire moons are very sensitive, right? Um, Not everyone knows that. They think, oh, it's fire, it's not sensitive. No, fucking fire moons are probably like, I don't know, from my experience, they cry a lot because it's fire and it just comes out. But we're both Sag moons, by the way. So Sag moon, I know your moon well. I've experienced it for 33 years and I fucking love it. Wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, so there's something there. I mean, I would love to work with you, like if you're ever interested in astrological counseling, because that's like one of my specialties from the counseling perspective is working on self-limiting beliefs and that whole idea of reprogramming, right? And also on, mindfulness and how to include that into that daily structure, because we can come to all this awareness, but then we slip back into it. And mindfulness, which you can gain through meditation and just paying attention, right? We catch ourselves when we slip back into that and we say, oh shit, I'm doing that thing. I'm having that belief, right? and then we stop ourselves. And then we're like, all right, I'm not gonna go there. So um already there, I'm feeling like so one exercise in Gestalt therapy we thought we we learned about um well, there's a lot. One of them was the the chair exercise, right? Where essentially you have two chairs in a room and you sit at one of them, you ask a question, and then you go sit in the other one, pretending, but it's almost like you're channeling. It's very kind of mystical, right? Um, the other person. And I think that that could be very healing potentially to do that with your mother and father, right? Um, but you know, the key to letting go is forgiveness, right? And people I've had lots of clients who've had, maybe not lots, but I've had clients who've had situations like yours, right? Um, where it feels like everything bad is happening to them. And what I ask them is I say, and I want the camera to show my face when I say this. What I ask these people is, do you think that God, which exists, I'm fucking positive, trust me, like 1,000,000% positive, as positive as the sky is blue. I get shown every day. Today was no different. Like literally I was like um helping my friend Patsy get back on Instagram and find like the perfect like uh time, right? Based on astrology for her to like create her account, because it actually has an account. Like I get a lot of like, I don't advertise this a lot, but I do have like, very like big like people in the business world come to me, and entrepreneurs and stuff, and they want to know about timing, right? When should I launch this? When, and I tell them, and I do readings like that. I need to like actually put that on my website. But literally, like what? So I'm just gonna tell you this really quickly before I tell you this epic, this. One sec. Hold on. Okay, so what happened is I was literally looking at. I was trying to give she's like my best friend pretty much at this point. I love that. I love Patsy so much. Um, and she does so much for me, right? Like it's she's psychic, and she she's done a lot for me, and I do a lot for her. Um, like my sibling, right? I have two siblings that aren't actually my siblings. One's Haley, my Moon Girl readings, who's actually gonna be coming here April. Well, she'll get here April 13th. Um, and hopefully she'll stay. Not like in my apartment, but hopefully she'll stay in Cluj, because it's 1,000,000 times better than California right now, or anywhere I've ever been besides Costa Rica. But okay, so I was literally like trying to find the perfect time for her to launch her Instagram, right? And guess what time it was? 11:10, which is not only my lucky number, which is on the cover of my book, which I could show you right now if I had a copy. Here's one. Here's a copy. So not only is it my lucky number, it's the 11:10, right? It's such a huge number for me. Like it's been so many years that it's just been absolutely everywhere. that it made the cover of my book that I finished, 2 years ago, right? Maybe longer than that. It's got to be like 3 years now, or close to 3 years. But anyway, it's called Pisces Live Nine Life on Amazon. But so not only that, but Patsy is born at 11:10 a.m., which wasn't her. She just found out that her birth time, like in the last few months, was wrong, and that was her actual birth time. I was like, "Are you kidding me, Patsy? Your birth time is my lucky number. That's fucked." So not only that, I'm literally like calculating to the second, by the way. Like I gave her like, I'm like, you send me a video of you hitting create and then make a post like that you have pre-prepared right away. Like a quick post already ready to go right away. The perfect time for her, and I'm telling you, it's the most like I was like, this is the best thing I've ever done for you. 11:10 a.m. Miami, where she lives, time in 37 seconds. That's how accurate I am. It was the best, pure perfection. I've never made a chart that good. Like there's only one hard aspect, which is unavoidable right now, which is the Mars square Neptune, but it's not even, it's not even that tight right now. And with all the good stuff, it was just incredible. It was like, wow, I was blown away. Like, wow, the cosmos must really want Patsy to have this amazing, presence. But she needs to, because she's fucking special as fuck. And I had to like give her like a lecture last night, like why she's really fucking over society by not doing what I'm doing. Because that woman is special. And that's what I was gonna say. Well, two things. One, going back to like this event. And I remember, I can't raise my volume because my girlfriend's sleeping. Would God, I'm dead serious when I say this, would God have created you, not created you, would God have put you in this incarnation, which you actually choose the circumstances, right? If you are not an advanced fucking soul that was able to handle it, all of it. Only advanced souls get this type of shit that happens to them. Advanced souls and people with fucked up karma, which I don't see in your chart. What I see in your chart is someone who has been misled in past lives. I see someone who's been confused, who's been. I'm gonna go get my Merlin stone, which is charging in the moonlight, the new moonlight. And my other crystals. But yeah, like no, the answer is fuck no. Like you clearly are someone who not charging, it was clearing. You're someone who has this chart for a reason, because you were meant to go through these to grow as a soul, right? So when we pivot, yeah, yeah. So when we pivot back to being a Sag moons have this tendency to, it's all about freedom, right? It's all about freedom, and it's all about learning wisdom, and it's about creating meaning, right? So fuck that shit happens, one sec, and we create meaning out of it. But what happens negatively, kind of the low side of Sag moon, is when we refuse to feel, because we're so innerly optimistic, Sag moons, right? It's when we refuse to feel the difficulty, right? It's when we refuse to feel the traumas, like those things you mentioned to me, right? And we just kind of, you know, like look more towards the future. It's the moon sign that's very future oriented. Sag moons are very optimistic. They're the inner well of optimism. But then, like with any human, when life pushes them to that edge, like they're there. Like then they get hit by it all. Um, and I would definitely, suggest like what everyone does with me is they do the astral, this reading that you're getting, my first ever emergency reading, which I need to fucking make an advertisement about. I should write that down too. Which is actually a really good sign, by the way. Whenever I write things down with clients, it means that it's something good about them. It's usually like something karmic with me in them. That's what I've noticed. Um, but it's something about their energy that I guarantee if I looked at our composite chart, there'd be like some kind of like real creative energy. Hold on. Okay. So what did I just fucking say? I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, so whenever I lose my train of thought, I just go back to the last thing I was saying, and then I just get to where I was going. Yeah, so like, you are here, and you now are being challenged to dig deep within yourself, dig deep within your resources, right? Oh yeah, the Saturn thing. But yeah, it's on that point. Like dig deep into your inner resources, into your mind, but to feel the emotions. So my question to you is, when the passings happened, when the breakup happened, did you feel it? You know, did you truly mourn it? Did you allow it to? Did you like another gestalt thing besides the chair thing is writing a letter and then burning the letter, not a hate letter, but a letter of like, what you would send to that person, right? Um, and it's kind of a rite of passage of closure, things maybe to your father you were never able to say to him, and all types of emotions pour out, right? So this is the kind of like energy work that needs to be done, because if there were any resentments towards, because like I imagine that, you know, the upbringing was I mean, I'm not gonna put a label. I imagine it was very traumatic or very, you have what I have, Pluto in the IC. So I mean it's right on there. So I imagine a very volcanic, really rough childhood. And I wonder if you were able to, like, that is the ultimate trauma marker in a chart is Pluto on the IC. So, like, your life automatically becomes a big part of it becomes healing. It's like it's healing yourself. It's healing those wounds. And as a Sag moon, sometimes it can feel like I don't want to fucking do that shit. Like I'm not affected by this thing that happened to me. I'm not affected by my parents' divorce. I'm not affected by this and that. But then at a certain point, which maybe you're getting to now, it becomes disease. It boils over into a point where it's unbearable, right? And that can happen with any, well, I mean, it's less likely to happen with certain moon signs, but it can happen with air moons, but Sag also, right? Like, because we prefer to see the positive. We, we're very positive people, but sometimes in life, you need to be real. You need to look at something for what it is. So besides that, Sag Moon has an emotional need for freedom, for learning more, for traveling physically, for traveling metaphorically, different cultures should, is something that makes the Sag Moon very, very happy. Um, so that's interesting. Let me see. So you have Pallas on your moon, which is very interesting, right? And Vesta. Um, so so when you combine that with the moon, um, it makes someone very a big planner, like someone, especially with the Mars and Virgo, someone who wants to like formulate a plan before making any kind of big emotional leaps of faith, like a born strategist. I'm sure helps you a lot with whatever work it is you do. Vesta with your moon, um, is very interesting. It usually makes someone instinctively kind of crave some type of ritual related to their emotional well-being. Um, it's also a very, loyal person. That's kind of like Saturn, but more fun. Very loyal, who, usually will show like their love language a lot of times will be through their actions. Um, and they really need to like nurture themselves and others through healthy habits, like what they eat, exercise, all that stuff, right? um Good hobbies, all that. So that's interesting that those are conjunct that. But to have those in Sag and in the fifth, your moon's in the fifth, because like, so yeah, we're both Leo rising and Sag moons. That's dope. um Yeah, so that makes someone like full of like, artistic talent, and someone who can really focus on their creative work. And then, in Sag, it's someone who can really um see the big picture, and maybe it's through their art that they can kind of like, paint the big picture. If they write music, it'd be like through their lyrics, the zoomed out version. Very philosophical, right? Very, very philosophical minded. Um, so, when that combines with Mercury and Cancer, it's like someone who's very emotional, um, or who has a very emotional mind, which can be difficult, right? Because the Mercury is definitely, it's neutral, it's not feminine or masculine. Um, and Cancer is feminine, so the emotions can get in the way of the decision making process. So it can be important to kind of like figure out how to um, integrate logic and emotion into decisions. But yeah, that's in the fifth. That is awesome because that can make someone who, and your midheavens, with Eris, so that's like mad entrepreneurial energy, just like boss energy, just like, you know, someone who's really, really, really made for being a leader, right? And it comes naturally because your South Node is also in Aries in the ninth, right? Um, but yeah, like someone who can have like a lot of dedication to their like creative works, um, and also to children, right? And in Sag, um, it is yeah, just it can create like a someone who's like a visionary in their work, right? Who can be like very relentless when they're working towards something they really believe in, right? So that's kind of interesting stuff. And then you have Neptune also in the fifth, which is like very, very big for creativity, right? Fifth house is like our creative pursuits. So yeah, it can create, it's about children too. So yeah, it can have a lot of different, but really it gives like a strong artistic nature where you can create through your intuition. So when you allow yourself to just, and I'm gonna get to your Mars and Virgo in a sec, because this is like very, very difficult. When you're able to just like completely let loose and let go of like anything that's like in the way mentally, right? You can just completely in that flow state, like just let go of when you let go of it all, you create through your intuition. It just comes out, And there can be some type of confusion sometimes around children. A lot of times people with this have to like make certain sacrifices in their life um for their children. Um, but it really is amazing for that. And with Vesta there in the moon there, it's like you're really attached to this kind of inner childness, which is very, very needed, right? Because like in one sense, you have to nurture yourself and you have to be, that mother, that spiritual mother for yourself. So yeah, and fifth house moon people, they just like to have fun. They have a need for fun, a need with Sag there for very for self-expression, emotionally for self-expression and sometimes there can be a tendency to play rather than work, but with your sixth house or with the rest of the planets there, I don't see that being the case, especially with Mars and Virgo. And yeah, it just like makes like a fun person, with Sag especially. And yeah, so that's interesting. Very fun loving vibes. Now, and yes, the House of Leo. So then this is what's interesting is that Mars conjunct Saturn, Mars in Virgo. So I've talked about this a lot on I don't know how long you've been on my IG, but I had like most difficult placements, and I put Mars, like I had like a lot of those posts. I think I had like five different, 10 most 7 to 10 page for the most part posts. And Mars in Virgo was very difficult because, and my brother has this, so I know it very well. And I know a lot of people with it. It can be like the biggest flow killer because it can make someone super critical of others, but it all starts with how critical they are themselves. So I've already talked about like this whole mental nature, right? And how you're here to become more fluid mentally and to break different beliefs you have that hold you back and that have held you back from different lifetimes, right? Certain stubbornness that might exist that might be so deep and unconscious. And um yeah, like some people just like they believe things and you just cannot get them to not to like kind of sift away from it. So especially with like I said, with trauma with Pluto and the IC, there's a big need to go back in childhood and really feel everything, really feel the emotion, cry about it as much as you have to, and really, really, really experience it and do like those exercises I told you. Um, and practice emotion. Um, because you don't have, I mean, you have a little water, Mercury, in terms of personal plants, but it's mostly fire, right? lucky you, you have Venus rising. That's you know, very good for looks, very good for having this like outer energy that's very kind of attractive, you know, like energetically attractive, usually physically attractive. By the way, I have no idea what you look like. I never look at my even like the little photo of my clients. I never look at their profile until after I've done. But I imagine that, you know, you're an attractive person, very, very, you know, Leo rising, like everything can be wrong and you can be kind of chilling, you know, or just like very gregarious and pleasant to be around and really like to make people laugh. And yeah, it's a great rising sign because it makes the sun rule your chart. So that sun in Gemini is even more prominent, and it was super prominent karmically too. So it's like, why are you Gemini? It's because Gemini is the sign that goes out in the world, and even if it's like the person they might consider the biggest idiot, um, they might go see, okay, what can I gain from this person, right? So it's about learning to compartmentalize and to take what you want and leave what you don't. So, for example, let's say there's like a creator, right? Like a guy on YouTube or something, and there's like something he says that you disagree with a lot, but then you've heard from other people that he's super intelligent. Do you just shut him off because of this one thing he said that wasn't even that bad? Like, you know, I mean, unless it's like fucking horrible, like racism or something. Um, or do you just, you know, compartmentalize and see, okay, what can I take from this, right? So that's big for you, right? It's like being the journalist in your life, and challenging your beliefs and having that like I don't know anything mindset each day when you wake up. Um, mhm. So I see that grand trine between Venus, Moon, and midheaven. Um, so that literally could be yeah, someone who has a career in the arts legitimately. And it definitely gives like a real deep intuition, kind of like an inner knowing, you know, very good for relationships too, even though I know you've had issues with them, but it's just good for um being able to kind of achieve balance within them, which is what your North Node in Libra is asking you to do. And just really good artistic creative talents, right? And you know, having like the moon trying the midheaven is it's a really good placement because it's like you always kind of feel, especially the Sag moon, like like where when things are right, when things are wrong, like you intuitively know like where you're heading in your life, right? Um, so a lot of the times it does come from the mother. Um, Not always, but you know, you have instincts that make you choose a career that suits you. You know when to quit, you know when to move on, you know when to make the right, the moves that you know what moves are right, which ones fit you, which ones don't, right? And it leads to you making like a positive contribution in your public life, right? That is very fitting to you and your true emotional needs, right? Which is, Sag, freedom. So I'd imagine that, like something, a career where you're learning, and growing your wisdom and able to communicate with lots of different types of people would be very, very like important for you. But, also like when it comes, to that Pluto and the IC, um, there can be issues around whatever that was about, what, like if that was like a certain like a parents who hate each other, or divorce that was really hard, or you know, whatever it was, right? It could even be a sibling because it's in the third house. Um, that has to really be worked through, and there has to be acceptance, regardless of. It doesn't mean you have to, talk to the person, whatever that is. Like you really have to look back and be very honest. Because sometimes Saturday moons can be a little bit like, um, they can have this attitude with their emotions. Or like, oh no, that didn't bother me, right? But you really have to be honest with yourself emotionally. Like what bothered you? What didn't bother you? Um, so that's massive. Um, and as I was gonna talk about, like before I went this direction, the Virgo Mars conjunct Saturn is very tough because it got a lot easier after turn 30, but it's tough because it can be the ultimate flow killer aspect. And you are someone who's meant to get in a flow, but Mars and Virgo, it can make someone so perfectionist that, let's say if you're a musician, you're doing music, right? You make something really, really good, but it fails to meet your like higher, like impossible to get to expectations. So then a lot of people with Mars and Virgo, that it's like the 100 or 0 perfectionist attitude. They just give up. Um, and then they don't try anymore. They go for that 0, right? So it's like the key is learning that you cannot be perfect, and to take from the opposite sign of Virgo, which is Pisces, and to find that self-compassion, and to find that just like that oneness, and that knowing that there's no way anyone can be perfect. You're just setting yourself up for failure, right? Which is actually very anti-Virgo, right? If you like to set yourself up for failure by having expectations that are way too high. So yeah, that's kind of what I would guess, is that there's been a lot of unprocessed um events and things that happen in your life that need to get processed. And on top of that, um and the Sag moon might just kind of like philosophize, you know what I mean? Philosophize, like kind of like like something bad happens to you and you're like, oh well, the deeper meaning is that uh this or that, but like are you really getting the core of the pain, right? Because that can be a way that Sag moons can avoid pain, is by just saying like just chalk it up to a lesson, and kind of it can be escapist, right? Now, speaking of escapism, you have a 12th house Cancer Black Moon Lilith. So you at your lowest can be someone who runs away from conflict, and who hides in their shell, and afraid to get hurt because you've been hurt before. So and who might use like emotional like kind of play the victim a little bit in life. Like, yeah, that's big time. Oh, I see that so much with this, right? Where they can be like self-delusional, right? Where they can lie to themselves and accept those lies, and create these stories, right? Which goes with the general theme I've seen here. Um, so it's about shifting the stories, right? And understanding that you are the narrative creator, right? A girlfriend, before she went to bed, she has some project tomorrow. She's like, do you have any advice? I was like, yeah. Like she has to do like some acting thing. I was like, if you program your mind to tell yourself that you're a great actor and that whatever you just did is amazing, even if it wasn't, everyone that watches it when they show in your class is going to think you did great. If your energy is that you were not great, then everyone's going to think the same thing. I realized this a few weeks ago. Like, I've always known this, but I realized it so heavily. Like, it was like such a deep feeling. That you to other people, you are literally only a projection of how you see yourself. very obvious stuff, but like people don't understand that when they self-deprecate, when they treat themselves with disrespect, and of course, like this isn't kind of like narcissism, right? But people who really love themselves, other people love them, you know? It's the only way the only way that you can actually have a nice relationship or like love someone is if you love yourself. Love yourself, and love is an energy that doesn't exist within you or that is dormant within you, right? It's existent within every human. It's just sometimes it's blocked behind trauma that needs to be undone, right? So that's some big things right there. Now Mercury conjuncts the Black Moon Lilith. It's in 12th house. That offers you deep spiritual insight in protection, spiritual protection. Um, which is really good because Black Moon Lilith in 12th house gives a need for that exact thing, spiritual protection. So you kind of have that. Um, it makes you really want to like strong urge to like look after your loved ones. And usually people with Jupiter and Cancer, they're just like amazing nurturers, and they really look up, yeah, they want like big families. And in the 12th house, you can really sense the zeitgeist, the kind of overall feeling of society, the overall underarching um kind of energy that's happening, right? With Mercury there, I think that, as it connects to your nodes, I would tick. Um, as it connects to your nodes, I think that, there hasn't been enough listening to others. There hasn't been enough sharing energetically. Like energetically, it's about kind of sort of an equal balance of giving and taking, right? But there's also like the need, some people need to learn how to receive, some people need to learn how to give, right? But it's about that balance. And um I think that when you have hurt emotions because of most likely a relationship with chewing nicotine, not tobacco, no tobacco in here. And I never smoke cigarettes, by the way, just so you know. You have to know that. You have to know that. Actually, I'm gonna get a different flavor. Um, I don't know why I'm shaking. So yeah, I think that that's important. And exploring for you as a Sag moon, and I'm very happy. I mean, from what I understood, that you are recovered and you have a surgery coming that, um, I don't quite understand what it implied, but you're a survivor, you said, which I'm very happy to hear, and I'm gonna give you a little round of applause. Fuck yes. Now, as I said earlier about how trauma is held in the body, and when it's not resolved, it turns into disease. Well, Pluto in the IC is the ultimate trauma marker. So I would ask you to really go back and look at what is that? You know, are there any repressed memories, right? Is there any of that? So Yeah, that's massive. That's massive. 1 second. Uh, yeah. I think that yeah, so the Virgo Mars, it's like to have it work in your favor. Um, let's go back to showing this. I didn't even time this reading, so I have no idea where I'm at now. But like to make it work in your favor, right? It's about like yeah, like I already talked about like under the imperfections and just knowing that you can it's impossible to be perfect and um trying to do that is only it's just it's leading you down a bad you know down a bad hole, right? A bad route. um Now at the same time, to use that in the most positive way is to take Virgo, which is about service. So another thing about the 12th house, is that the way to heal the 12th house is through acts of service. Devoting your it doesn't have to be like devoting your life to service, but like, you know, doing things that for the betterment, like selflessly, right? Giving selflessly from the heart. It can't come from like just knowing that, you have 12th house energy and that um that's healed from this, from giving. But Virgo, Mars and Virgo also, it wants to have that same kind of effect, right? Um, so yeah, like I think that um the best way to use that energy is to look at your diet. Diet like sixth house rules your daily routine, right? So look at that. Look at you know, like the steps it takes to kind of reach your ideals, right? Which is Pisces, right? Your dreams. And then to make a concerted effort to get there. Because Virgo Mars gives you this real ability to have that step by step basis. But and also Mars in the second house can make someone like obsessed, like a real go-getter when it comes to like money, finances, and all that, right? Um, but it can also make someone really, really hard on themselves, really hard on themselves. And then that gets projected into relationships, right? And with some of the other energy I'm seeing is that like, mm, moon square Mars, for example, right? That like you see here, I can pull it up. These are like kind of shitty definitions, but um, it's people who have moon square Mars can get triggered quite easily, right? And it's Mars, so it can like when they get really triggered, it can reflect this part, this Pluto on the IC, um, that trauma. So you can get clues by when you're triggered as to like where the trauma is, right? Um, fourth, yeah. So like, just understanding, like, for example, that like meditating would be like the best possible thing, right? And just like bring you that peace. But like a lot of people with Virgo Mars who meditate, lots of who have that energy, like they'll like be like amazing, like for like the first 12 days, they'll add 2 minutes to their time each day. And another thing that I do like when I do like the counseling is like a lot of people like want like a lot of people have that self-talk like I'm a bad meditator. I'm like, there's no such thing as being a bad meditator, right? It's just about doing it and continuing to do it. and not giving up. And I'm not going to get into like all of the philosophy. I know ways to conceptualize and get good at meditation, but and have it amazing is an amazing experience. But um, like let's say like day 10, day 11 comes, and you just whatever happens, you just don't do it, or you just give up, or you just can't you just feel like whatever. The Virgo Mars person a lot of times like will fail to get quote unquote get back on the horse. Like one bad thing happens, like they don't reach their goal of perfectionism, and they don't get back on the horse, and then they just give up, right? So that Mars plays out in love too, and also in love, obviously Venus rising, Venus and Leo, people, they really want to be, they take great pride in their partnerships. They really want partners that they can be proud of and they can have fun with, who and then it's squaring Chiron though, so that's like showing how um Venus is really self-love, right? So it's very strong, it's rising, Venus rising in your chart, which is beautiful. But it's square Chiron, it's like that's the work that needs to be done um for that to be unlocked. And then also what comes from that, I'll go back to my face. What comes back from that is the discovery of hidden skills, like past life skills, right? Talents that might be dormant that can just pop up. And yeah, but there's lots of emotional pain in relationships with that. And difficulty like experiencing like joy. And with your North Node in Libra, right? So North Node is like where you're trying to get to in this lifetime, like the kind of like destiny point, the mountaintop. In Libra, it's like the third house. It's like it's like, of course, third house. North Node is about the mind and everything I talked about, you know, kind of the reprogramming and getting past those introjects and those self-limiting beliefs and realizing that you have endless potential as a human being. Everyone does. And that anything that anyone's told you can't do, you can do. Right. Um, and just like really being curious about the world. But also in Libra, it's about compromise and learning diplomacy and compromise within relationships and um, you know, learning how to which let me see. See, I mean you have air with your sun, but I think that's it, right? Yeah. So like kind of lean into that Gemini energy, right? Which is it's different than Libra, but it's air in the sense of like really, really, really wanting to like hear other people out and understand other people's perspectives, right? The give or take type of thing, right? And the goal for the Libra North Node is to have peaceful, fair relationships, and it all starts with the self. So the Venus square Chiron, um, there's lots of like, usually like early like feelings of like rejections early on in childhood. Um, but the beauty in it is that, yeah, like one, it can unlock like these creative talents and skills, but also it gives you great empathy for others as a healer, right? So it's a really good one for a healer, but you have to, it starts with yourself. And it can also give very, very healing relationships, right? Um, but you gotta watch out for like playing the role of the healer in relationships too much. Now Juno, interestingly, is opposite um, Venus, right? And Juno represents um, kind of what we look for in our ideal partner, right? So it makes someone who loves very passionately, um, almost like in an unreasonable type way. Um, and yeah, just people who just love, right? Um, and they can sometimes like lack restraint when it comes to like that area of life, right? But like also another way that I see it is that, you know, the ideal partner is someone who has this sense of real individualism, right? Like Aquarius is a sign which is linked to it actually trines your North Node, meaning that this is an area of life. And Juno is like the serious relationships, right? Like marriage, like really serious ones. So that type of person would be someone who um is really their own person, who isn't just like subscribing to society's norms and all that, who is like a complete individual, like just maybe even eccentric or just very like they do things the way they do things. They're not following any script, any conditioning. What they do is them, right? Um, Now to have it like on the descendant is beautiful because it gives you this real desire for that real like an ability to be very committed in relationships and this real desire, but it can be a huge goal to have like this really perfect relationship. But descendant in Aquarius, like there needs to be a certain level of freedom, right? Within that. Um, and Mars Virgo can kind of like make someone like overanalyze, right? And with the Mercury stuff, it can make someone not see clearly like someone else's motives, right? And it can kind of make them feel like they're not good enough or um, those little mental interjects can creep in the relationship. And they can put too much on the relationship, like too much of their happiness on the relationship, right? Um, so when you think of like, okay, well, what is the how to, because like some people try to create like God, as I say, they try to make God like find God within their partnerships, right? And that's impossible. So there needs to be a higher meaning in a lifetime. Um, and that can be anything that related to your purpose, right? To what your true purpose is. And like for example, for me, like I'm in a relationship, but like I'm so in love with astrology, like I mean, it would suck if we broke up tomorrow, but like I'd still have this, love this so much that there's no way I could be unhappy. Like, I mean, there is a way, of course, but like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way, like, I'm so like in love with astrology that I'm not relying on a relationship to fill that void. And I used to be, excuse the spitting, but completely different. I told you I have IC on Pluto IC like you, and I did that. I put everything into relationships, and then I wonder why they didn't work. It's because no one likes to be put on a pedestal, you know. Um, Men and women like someone who is so deep in their purpose and what they really care about. It could be your music, it could be, whatever, right? Um, it can't be money though. It can't be just material stuff. It has to be something deeper than that, right? That really feeds your soul, your Sag Moon soul. The Sag Moon soul is the gypsy soul, the one that always wants to keep growing and keep adventuring and keep learning, right? So that's a big thing for you is being an adventurer, as a Sag, as a Pisces, as a Gemini Sag, Leo rising. Like you are meant to just keep flowing down this path of life and experiencing different experiences that open your eyes to different truths, different realities, right? Like when you travel to like a country you've never been to where the culture's completely different, like damn, like you know, like these people see life in a completely different way than I see it, you know? So yeah. Um, so aside that, um, so yeah, Moon is conjunct Uranus also, so that's like a psychic potential for sure. It's not like such a tight conjunction, but it's still a conjunction. And the vertex is on Uranus, so or actually no, I meant to say Neptune, not Uranus. Excuse me. But it's the same thing, or very similar. It's like you're very, very connected to spirit and to the other realms. It's just like a muscle you have to flex. And it also the mind, the mind can get in the way of that, right? So it's like how to remove the mind. Meditation is like the best thing for that, but there's different ways, right? But you know, vertex being on Neptune, I think of that. The fifth is like how creativity and really finding that inner child and all that is really that's your doorway to higher awareness, right? In relationships, you want you're an adventurer, you want an adventure partner, you want also someone spiritual though, someone who kind of adds to that sense of spirituality, um, and self-discovery, discovery of higher purpose and all that stuff. Someone who makes you question things. Why do we live the way we live? Like, for example, like I have a lot of Aquarius energy myself, and I question everything, every societal norm. Like, I don't believe that sleeping in the same room and that's just probably my Aquarius side. So it's not, everyone's cup of tea, but I believe in having my own room, you know, and I think it's a really, really good thing because I think that relationships in themselves, they need to have energetic breaks. Um, I think that if we're with someone all the time, we start to see the negative in them more, right? But when we have two people who are living their own lives and then coming together, that's the true beauty of what I think really can make relationships last. Um, that's different for everyone, and that's where like the whole compatibility part of astrology comes in, right? Where you can, well, I can, look at two charts and really kind of determine, what's going on here, what's the karma, what's the thing, the areas of difficulty, and what's the areas of strength and what needs to be worked on and what's difficult, what's the nature of the relationship. It's a whole different reading, but very interesting one. Now you talked about your ex. I think it goes back to, that Chiron and just like needing to really and also just like the overall energy of just really needing to feel. And I'm a Sagittarius, so I had this too, right? Like needing to feel the emotions, needing to allow yourself to accept that I've been hurt and, you know, um, create boundaries around that, you know. Um, and you said you work with it, that's gotta be like impossible. Um, but like jumping into something like right away, to me, if you're still in love with someone else, is very like it's problematic because you're not giving yourself time to heal. It's like a band-aid, unless there's like deep meaning to that relationship and real potential. It's like it's just a band-aid. And then when that ends, if it's not serious, it just gets pulled off and that old wound comes back, you know? And Sag moons can have that tendency to just like on to the next one, like I don't want to feel this, like life goes on. But then everything kind of combusts, all these things you mentioned combust into one, and it's like a sudden crisis. And like, what the fuck? Like I never like been like this, I never felt like it's ever been this intense. So I think, there's a lot in your chart that speaks about being of service and how amazing that could be for you, right? 11th house sun also is like about humanitarianism, about finding like your tribe and your real purpose, that's kind of more related to making the world a better place. And if what you're doing isn't doing that slash broadening your worldview, I could see how there could be like lots of frustration that would seep in, because the Sag moon needs to keep moving, right? Gemini needs to always be stimulated in learning new things. And that same energy needs to be in any relationship, or it's just not going to work because you're just going to be bored. But yeah, the Leo Venus people definitely love a little bit of drama in their relationships, and they like to have fun, and it's the first house, so um, you know, that's also another strong indicator of someone who can express beauty very easily. Hashtag arts. Um, and you can also express love, speak beautiful words, and have like a very like kind of harmonious Leo, kind of Venusian Leo vibe to them, right? Now your ascendant is at 0 degrees. So that's very interesting, right? So a 0 degree energy, right? It's like a new karmic energy for you. So in Leo, the way I see it is that it's a new beginning with that energy, with that Leo energy, right? Kind of like the Fool card. So it's like a lot of trial and error is needed, right? So you have to like look at your life and any of the things where areas where you feel like you messed up, and like not take shame from it, because that's just the karma of the 0 degree, right? Um, so yeah, just like with your impulses and and just the way you express yourself, just yeah, just there's more wiggle room, but also there's the potential to like go towards extremes of that sign of Leo, which can be like narcissistic. It can be um well, the whole overly Leo thing. Um so um yeah, but like it could also in a better way, you know, have that effect of anything is possible as it relates to like the arts, and it just takes that self-belief. And the thing about Mars and Virgo is that like I always tell like say like I will not surround myself with people who do not believe that anything is possible, right? Here's Esme, by the way, the healer baby, Cancer baby. But yeah, I mean, going back to Cancer, she just reminded me, like, I think that the everything with the breast ruling Cancer, that could be related to the mother, and work that needs to be done around, obviously she's not here to physically heal a relationship, but to heal it within yourself, find peace, find understanding of why she was the way she was. Maybe it goes back generations. How was her upbringing? How did that contribute in your father too? Like how did that contribute? If that's what the Pluto on the IC trauma is about, right? But there's always trauma when there's Pluto on the IC. And usually it's a very volcanic, eruptive, early, home environment. in the third house, it could have been school, it could have been bullying, it could have been, yeah, um, siblings, like stuff like that. So yeah, with the North Node there too, it's about finding peace with that exact thing. Um, Finding that Libra balance and peace in your life. Um, and not always being such a go-getter, right? Understanding the need for balance between the moon, the emotional side, and the sun, the more active side. Because with people who have opposite sun and moon, a lot of times they favor one of them and then they project the other one onto their partner. So, um, if, for example, let's say you favor the Gemini, not the Sag, you know, there could be lots of frustration around um, not being able to explore, not being able to go out in the world and discover like different cultures and learn about different things you might be interested in, all that. So that's interesting. Let's go back to the screen. Actually, it's not. Okay, so so Uranus in the fourth. Um, Usually that just speaks to like a very like unconventional like home life. Someone who like a lot of times like moves around a lot. Maybe when they're a kid, parents got divorced and they had to like go back and forth. Um, or it could just have been like a very like unusual kind of like bohemian kind of type of like um development and the way you're raised. Um, so yeah, it can kind of make someone like get bored of where they're living pretty easily, want to change homes, want to change locations a lot. So yeah, it's really about channeling the high energy of Uranus in the fourth, which fourth is Cancer, so it's in the water sign, and that's being able to receive downloads and you know, but that always comes, but like that once again, the Mars and Virgo, it's like you can be getting into that state, that flow state, but then boom, you have to really watch yourself, like that self-criticism, those interjects. So that's what really needs to be learned and studied. Um, so yeah, that's very key. Um, so Saturn is in the first, in Leo. So that is another one that can really make someone feel very restricted, in terms of like their self-expression, even as a Leo rising, right? They can feel, and by the way, you have one of these rare charts with your 0-degree ascendant where your chart isn't going to change much, if it's whole sign or Placidus, right? Um, but yeah, like the first house Saturn is very much, it can bring like lots of feelings of inadequacy, like I can't do it. Um, but then in the end, it can make someone very, very, very capable, especially after the Saturn return. Um, but yeah, it comes from like early childhood wounds of yeah, feeling like inadequate, maybe getting messages from your family or the people around you that you weren't good enough, conscious or unconscious. But it makes someone like very, very kind of usually cautious, in a very good, especially since it's conjunct Mars. That is like the ultimate aspect. Like the amount of super successful clients I've had that have Mars square Saturn or Mars conjunct Saturn, it makes the first 30 years of the Saturn turn really difficult, deal with all this bullshit, all these setbacks, but then those start to go away more and you're still left with this like incredible determination, hardworkingness, right? Usually they have to like grow up really quick. So that's why this fifth house of like allowing that fun into your life is so key, right? That inner child. So, and then like, that it can make you really want recognition in your career, and midheaven, eras together, like can really make someone like just super, super like powerful. And, the key is like the second house Mars is like, what is power, right? Because there's the theme of power and powerlessness. And it's about finding that internal power, which goes back to your Chiron and Taurus, right? Finding that internal power, that internal sense of self. And then you don't have to rely on, trying to kind of like prove people certain things, right? Prove on this, prove on that. All right. So, and yeah, and part of Fortune series, both in the sixth, it's like, yeah, like in Capricorn, it's like, you nurture others by, what you do, and the way that you add to society as a whole. Um, it's like, you get kind of nurtured by like, your ambitions, and you're able to really like teach others about self-discipline and about things of that nature. And with part of Fortune, go back to the chart. With part of Fortune in the sixth over here, it's like your flow state, right? So it's like when your life is kind of in that balanced kind of state, um, that's the best. Um, when you're being of service to humanity, that's where you really feel good. Like you're really truly giving back in the way that you feel is closest to your heart, um, in a tangible way. But yeah, like getting past that 10th house Chiron can be difficult. And a lot of people who have that, they end up, maybe it's not always at the same time, but, Aries midheaven means that you're, with Aries, like you'll be a leader in whatever you do. And, it's Leo rising as well, right? So, and then there's a changeability to Gemini. So you could totally be the kind of person that goes through career changes. But the big emphasis here is that Mercury, that mind, mixed with that Mars and Virgo, and how that can really be that thing that comes back to bite you. So let's see, did I miss anything? That's mm. And yeah, Venus sextile nodes means that a lot of your artistic talents are from a past life. Like it's like past lives where you've been an amazing artist. And I just wonder how much better you could be, um, or better, not better, just like how much that like that energy I talked about, self-defeating energy, the not good enough, the interjects, how much that gets in the way of you and your creative process and your ability to just like find that authentic self-expression, which is the idea of I'm creating not to show others how good I am. I'm creating for the sole purpose of just doing it for me, you know? So, um, yeah. Let's see one thing here. me turn my brightness down. Or maybe f.lux on. I always used to say the end of my readings where I turn the f.lux, which like dims my computer. It's a lot better. So yeah, yeah, so like once again, like learning cooperation, like Aries South Node tends to like always like want their way or the highway. And they can sometimes force their opinions. That's another Sag Moon thing, is like forcing your opinions, forcing your viewpoints onto other people. Like I remember when I was first getting into astrology, um, just like I know this thing, I found this thing that's so amazing. Like everyone around me needs to know about it, you know? And yeah, it's not the best. Um, not the best. So yeah, it's all about selflessness, right? Selflessness and just being able to really feel into like the needs of other people ultimately, right? Um, yeah, so really a big emphasis is on like, understanding those interactions between people and how those work. And Pluto there is like the ultimate another indicator of someone who needs to like just dig deep into information and just like really find it on their own, not just believe because someone told them. Like they need to go and do the groundwork, be the journalist, go to that place, see how it is, embed yourself in that culture, learn about astrology or whatever, like, just like um and that's why you're a Gemini, right? Third house is Gemini, Pluto third house, so it makes perfect sense. And a big thing is like for you, once again, is like it's not just like that thinking part, it's about communicating and learning how to communicate in a way where you're taking other people's, you're seeing not like it's like seeing other people's like point of view, other people's reality, like why they are the way they are, but also just like um, just fair communication, just like there's a book called Nonviolent Communication, which I think everyone should be forced to read. But of course, schools don't teach us shit that's important usually. And yeah, um, let's see, it stars. I know Antares, but another really cool thing about having like a Sag Moon Jupiter in 12th house is that you're like always seeking the meaning in like the deeper meaning in life, like deep within yourself, and it's like a lot of the answers are within you already. But sometimes people with like this combination will seek them externally, but really they're all within you, right? Um, and another beautiful thing about 12th house Jupiter is like even during the worst times, they're able to like dig into this deep well of optimism, um, which comes, the more you strengthen your faith, the more, I don't mean that like in a religious, like go to like, like finding your own, version of spirituality, um, which can be through astrology, can be through so many different ways, right? Music, whatever. That's the healing through service to others, right? 12th house. And that will fix a lot of the issues with, some interjects. Because you feel with the series part of fortune, like you feel really good about yourself when you're able to, it's getting a little bit hurry from the screen. to really feel that. Okay, let's see. I have to stare in my view because there's like a million stars. So you have angel on your Venus and ascendant, so that just adds a very angelic energy to you and to what you project. Okay. Let's see here. So Alphard, mm, mm. So having that on your Saturn, can bring like very strong passions, right? Um, but it can also make someone quite cautious, slow to anger. Um, and there can also be secret like love affairs that don't last long and that lead to heartbreak. Um, so how close is it? No. And then Mars, none. Mhm. So it Antari, should talk about Alphecca. I guess I'll just go in order of the is. So with Uranus and Alphecca, it can create some selfishness, and some mental afflictions. Um, there can be like fake friends that show up, like deceptive people. Um, and yeah, like some domestic issues. And what else? Antares love. Actually, you have. Oh yeah. Oh, I love when I see this. I just saw this on the chart I made for my friend. So you have Amor on the midheaven. It's one of my favorite asteroids. It's right on your midheaven and beautiful, especially for a healer, because Amor is about unconditional love. So let's say you were like in my position, like content creator, whatever. Having Amor on the midheaven, it makes you just like protrude like unconditional love for humanity, for God, for whatever it is, And it's a really beautiful one to have. So for your mission, whatever that is, like it would make you, yeah, just have, if what you're doing now or whatever it is, just it would give that amazing passion for it. It's unconditional. Okay. So I already said, yeah, this is so similar to the chart I just made for Patsy. So you have Betelgeuse on your sun, um, which is a well star. And, yeah, that one too. let's talk about Antares though. So Antares is one of the four royal stars. Um, it's a very interesting one. So having it on your moon makes one usually, and this is like the most important star by far, very popular, very interesting, very philosophical, interested in everything from science to metaphysics. Um, you know, someone who can change their spiritual, religious opinions. Usually quite influential friends, really good for business. Um, Very powerful energy, right? So it does bring wealth, honor, all that stuff. But with any of the royal stars, it's like when people wrong you and you seek revenge, they start to lose their power. Um, so sometimes the honor, like the wealth, the honors, they're not always long lasting. Um, and there can be like domestic dramas too, outbursts, very like fiery energy. So yeah, but overall it is a royal. What's this one? Oh, and then you have another well star, Sirius, on your Jupiter. Um, so that's exactly what it sounds like. Um, Jupiter expands everything, and Sirius is a well star. I mean, there's a reason that the U.S. was founded on July 4th. I'm about to do my series of the astrology of different countries, and you know, Sirius is July 4th is the day Sirius sun hit Sirius. So, but also like with Beetlejuice, there's like a lot of interest in the occult and mystical subjects, right? So, yeah, someone who really like wants to dig deep. And yeah, it's a Beetlejuice. With Sirius, so that's where your Jupiter, right? Yeah, Jupiter is there. Um, I mean, like I already said it, like just business success, just usually like very, attached, especially in Cancer, to the family, like wanting to create like a large family. Um, and they stay very tied to their family circle. Um, Usually born into like a large family. Not always. And very emotionally connected to the family. So it makes sense, like why what happened with your family would affect you so deeply because you have this Cancer energy, right? And Sirius is just adding to that. So like what happens to one affects them all. And it can also lead to like exaggerated emotions, right? So hmm, nothing on the Mercury. And then there is so you have Altair, which is a great star on your descendant. So that usually, that will give like a very illustrious, it's another really good leadership one and power, good for power. Um, Very illustrious life, lots of glory, very commanding nature. There can be even fame with Altair. It's really, really good. someone who's like busy with lots of different things. And yeah, just someone who has lots of prosperity. They might, you know, it's on the descendant, which is with the stars, it's not really like looked at as the other, right? But yeah, it can bring prosperity. Usually it's through the self, but could also be a mix of the self and um, marriage. But usually the real prosperity comes in the Middle Ages, or like through associations with yeah, just with other people who help you in that sense. Is there anything on the IC besides Pluto? No. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I could possibly say. Um, so as I said, I do a lot of different types of readings. And I also do the astrological based counseling. So yeah, I mean, my suggestion, I mean, I don't know, you know best. Most people, what they do, as I said before, is they get this reading. You got yours, obviously you did the first emergency one ever, so you got yours done right away. And they will figure this out. They will get this done, and then we schedule. So you have a follow-up already purchased, right? But um, then we do the current astrology, which usually it's 380, but I would do it for 250. Um, and that becomes like a 3 hour, sometimes longer. Last night it was too fucking long. 1 second, you can still hear me. Sec. It becomes like a 3 hour plus Zoom session live, and I call it current astrology spiritual alignment. And the reason I call it that, I just renamed it, is because current astrology implies I'm only talking about astrology. It's way deeper than that. And for that, I mean, I know you didn't wait long because you purchased the emergency reading where you get yours right away, or as soon as I can possibly do it. But yeah, I mean, basically like that. It's um, scheduled out as soon as my next available appointment is, or like day where I can have that, right? So let me know about that, and might as well just tell you like everything I do, because some people think I just only do natal charts. I already told you about the astrological based counseling. Same thing as like therapy, but just with astrology added in. Um, and astrocartography, astrology of geography, and how certain areas are good for certain reasons. I can show you like a quick little um, image of what an astrocartography chart looks like if you don't know. Okay. So it's like this. Oh, not like that. So you have different lines all over the world that represent different plants, and they're different energies of different plants. So for example, like you have your fame line right over Glasgow, Scotland, and it goes through. This is like literally where my family is from in France, like right here. Um, and right close to Madrid, Spain. It's known as the faint line, sun ascendant. But there's lots of lines. There's some that are good. There's some that are more neutral. There's some that um are okay. There's some that are fucking horrible. And there's not many of them, but it's good to know where they are. And because you have Pluto on the IC, now this is very key what I'm about to say to you. because you have Pluto on the IC, so I'm gonna give you a little story that's gonna make a lot of sense. Like you, I have Pluto on the IC. Yours is closer than mine, but we still both have it. My mom, I was born in San Francisco, California, and that is where my mom lives. So whenever I go back there, um, it doesn't happen right away because Pluto is an outer planet. It takes time to kind of kick in like the themes. But I feel this immense pressure. So if you're still in that New York area, you're still in that, right? Which makes it really, really hard to break free, you know? The way I describe it, because I fucking experienced it, like living in Romania and going from like I live on very nice lines here, right? I feel very empowered. I feel, of course, it's also a mix of like liking the place, liking the culture, but it all kind of plays together, right? But I know for a fact that if you're living like in the New York area, you're on your Pluto IC line, and I would say that or the Mars IC is the worst line in all astrocartography. Um, and it's just this feeling of pressure and of stress and trauma and like so like my experience is like I go back to the US once every 2 years probably like because my dad and my mom are divorced and my dad is French, my mom's American, so I'll spend one Christmas in France, one in the US, right? And my mom lives in probably like the best place you could possibly one of the best places you could possibly live in America. Like literally, like it's fucking gorgeous and it's like a bubble, right? Um, but I still feel like this intense, like after the first few weeks is fine, right? But then I start to feel it. I'm like, oh fuck. Like it's Pluto, so it's unconscious, right? Pluto is like your shadow. It's like, where things are fucked. And for you in your third house, it would be, on your IC, it'd be around childhood, but also be around kind of the early environment, right? And the mind, and it can cause kind of a disturbing effect on the mind, and that can also be seen by that loose Pluto square Mercury, which is like not really counting because it's not really um, in range, but still, um, yeah, I mean, you'd feel that. And but then at the same time, the other line that's close to an angle is Venus. So that would offset some of it. However, the Pluto one's closer. So the closer you could live to the Venus line would be better. So it's not gonna be as bad as it is for me because you have Venus ascendant. So the Venus ascendant line will probably be very close to that. Potentially, but the ascendant lines, they move horizontally. So it might not go right over New York. But I'm not sure where you live. But yeah, like when I left, so after I'll just finish like um, this story and kind of yeah. Um, when I get to that like 3 week, 4 week mark, I'm just like even like I'm with my mom who's amazing. We have amazing animals, amazing house, amazing like area, all that stuff. I still feel this like intense, just internal pressure, like this real theme of power and powerlessness, going like really fluctuating between the two, not feeling like myself, not feeling like I'm in my power, not feeling like momentum, like trauma resurfacing like unconsciously, but it's not something I can put into words. It's just a feeling of like I need to get the fuck out of here. When I'm with my mom, which obviously eases a lot, but it seems that every time I go back, even though my mom is not a drama person in the least bit, and she doesn't create the drama. It seems that there's always some drama, and then I get back here, and I'm like, oh, I can breathe, you know. So Yeah, I'm just telling you that solely because I know for a fact that if you're in New York or in that area, that you're on your Pluto IC, but also on your potentially on your Venus ascendant. So yeah, so that's kind of another live reading. And aside that, yeah, I do compatibility readings. Those are recorded, kind of like this one, recorded, and then we have a follow up where we talk about everything, and that's can be between any two people, you know, mother. Well, I know your mother's gone, but like parents and kids. I've done compatibility with deceased people before. People just want to know, like, what's the energy? What was the energy like with, my parent no longer here, with kids, but usually it's with romantic partners. That's the kind of you can imagine it's compatibility reading, right? But I do a good amount with like business partners too. That's really, really important for like some of the more um businessy clients I have. They are into astrology. They want to know, is this like is this person about to enter into this big, business um journey with, like, is like what is our compatibility on that level? So there's lots of different ways for that. And yeah, so current astrology I already mentioned. I keep it simple, that's it's kind of like uh, I'm gonna start offering. I wrote down the the I don't know what I'm gonna call it, but a reading where I can basically, like, let's say someone wants to start a business or someone wants to, plan a marriage or whatever, they want something, like, because everything that started, whether it's an Instagram page, a relationship, that's why in my video, the one that went viral, or Instagram viral, about like the energy of the last few days, over like last weekend and so forth, like why I was very, very adamant that anyone you meet during this time, it could be very, very, like, lots of like illusions, and you can't really trust that. That was because Mars was square Neptune during that time, right? So I, like, if like someone would have come to me during that, like, hey, like, I'm trying to like start whatever it is. It could be an Instagram account, it could be a business, anything, a contract, right? Um, I know in the future I'll probably work a lot with business people along that, along timing ventures and stuff of that nature. But yeah, like, that's the worst time to meet someone, right? And it's funny because this other astrologer, right? I just started a Twitter not too long ago. It's just called Jesse Astrology on Twitter. I have like 100 and, like, I don't know how many followers. Not that many. 114, I think. But so I just got in there. I follow a few astrologers. This girl I know from Instagram, I follow her, and she posted literally, oh my God, I met the most amazing guy. Blah 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 blah. And I and then like posted his chart, and what do you guys think? And like I straight up told her, I was like, look, like, I was nice. I told her like all the things I saw in his chart, and I was like, I was very adamant. I made like a video that got like 100 and I don't count, like, I think like 150,000 or something like that views, right? 150,000, which is my record before was like 6,000. So it's like crazy how big that got. But then again, I never used hashtags ever on Reels. I just realized I could, and then the first time I do it, it goes crazy. So maybe you do that more. But I think it was ultra important because it was like people need to know about that, and I got a lot of messages from people, like, being like, "You were totally right." Like, this Irish girl, was like so many fights, so much fucked up, like, jealousy stuff happening, just like all of this like dark energy, right? Um, I posted that on my story. So yeah, like, that would be an example of someone who didn't follow the astrology, you know, she's an astrologer. And we'll see what happens or we won't. But, you know, if I had to guess, I would say it's probably not gonna last. And maybe it will, you know, but like there'll definitely be, since the guy was a Scorpio, there'll definitely, she's like literally posting nonstop about him, like, oh my God, we're both Sag moons. Um, in my head, I'm like, ugh, this does not sound like it's gonna end well. So timing is everything, but you know, you could have the worst timed meeting of someone astrologically, but if the composite chart, if the synastry, if all that stuff is good, then it can easily make up for it. But like every relationship, every business, every country, everything has a chart. And that's what people don't get, right? Everything has a chart. And you gave me another idea. Look at you, just watching the video and giving me ideas. I need to make a post called Everything slash Event has a chart. And then I'm gonna write introduce new reading. I'll make a new reading. I don't know how much I'll charge. But yeah, the reading will be based on the individuals. Usually I make people do natal chart readings before I ever do anything else. That's kind of my rule, besides like astrocartography, because it's still better. Like you start with the natal and then you see what else you want, you know? But yeah, like yeah, you really, it's good to start with the natal. But yeah, and then that kind of just like shows how everything can kind of work itself out. Yeah, with that, I'd probably just like have the natal and then have like and just like find a time based on the needs, you know, whether it's a business or whatever it is, for the uh, best probability of success, best time to the minute. Like I gave my friend for free, obviously for free. Um, and her Instagram's gonna fucking do amazing, you know. I wish I had her chart, her Instagram chart, if she actually does it correctly, which she will. That's it. Thank you so much. Hope this is everything you wanted and more. And talk soon. Let me know, and we can schedule the follow up if you want to just do the follow up, or the follow up in current astrology if you want to add that current astrology slash spiritual alignment. All right. Ciao. All right. In this.